Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be reliving all my FM24 saves before I move on to the new game FM26. I know some people stay with the same game, but I'm planning on making videos on FM26. All of the saves have some really good storylines, so join me as we look at all the journeys and say one last goodbye to all the boys. And here is the first club, probably my favourite save in all of Football Manager 24. A bit of a strange reason to start a save, but my mum has a pen pal in Sweden, in the north of Sweden, in a little town called Lulea. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but that's how I say it. For those that don't know, Sweden has 4 tiers, and the 4th tier is called Division 2, and then the 3rd tier is called Division 1. It's like the Premier League that have come on top of the Championship. There's been 2 divisions come on top of the 2 original divisions in Sweden, which was Division 1 and Division 2. We took over 21 years and 60 days ago, and since then we've had 16 league wins, 3 promotions and 13 cup wins. There's not much data left from the first season that we had, but we were in the promotion playoff after failing to win a division, so we had to go into the playoffs. And we conceded a 94th minute winner, and I think we must have lost on penalties to not qualify for promotion. I can't exactly remember. It was quite a while ago. The following season, though, we dominated and only lost 1 game with 3 draws and 22 wins. Only 9 points short of a perfect score in the league. We then rocketed up the divisions, going from the 3rd tier to the 2nd tier, and then at the first time of asking, going to the 1st tier. First, 3 times in a row. In our first time in the Swedish top flight, not Lulea's, they were in the top flight sometime in the 70s and 72, I think. We barely escaped relegation by 2 points, and then we hung on to our top flight status. The next year, we rocketed up the table and finished 3rd, qualifying for the Europa League with 59 points, 10 points off Malmo on top. The next season, we closed our gap to the summit of the league even more, finishing 2nd, 2 points off top, before a little bit of a setback in the following year in 2031 where we finished 3rd, 9 points off top this time. And then finally we won Sweden's top flight with a 67-point campaign, 20 wins, 3 losses and 7 draws. And after that league win in 2032, we never looked back. We won the league every year since then, not even close. We had quite a few invincible years. The first one in 2040, and the following year 2041, and then again in 2043. Because of that, we raised the overall coefficient of the Swedish leagues, and they're up to 8th at the moment, on the rise. All the teams around us are slowly but surely getting better. We're closing down on Portugal, just barely below them on the coefficient. As you can see on the current league table, lots of European places up for grabs now in the league. We are obviously the top team in Sweden, and we've raised all the way up to a 4.5 reputation. We increased the capacity of the Skogsvallen, which is the current ground of Lulea, but we've moved on since then. It's sitting at a 7,500 capacity at the moment. A far cry from what it is in this picture. We temporarily moved to our rival's ground as ours was being renovated, before moving to our new home, the Norsken Stadion, which I tried to name after the Northern Lights. I don't know if I achieved that sort of vibe, and it's just sitting at under 30,000 now, but that's been improved. It was initially a 22,000 seater stadium. And as you can see from here, we have 5-star training facilities and 5-star youth recruitment. I had a problem with the youth facilities. They didn't want to upgrade them. I think there might be some sort of bug in the game, because we couldn't upgrade them, even though I kept asking for it. I'll ask again. Even though I'm never going to play this again, might as well ask again. It just wouldn't ever improve. In our first foray into Europe in 2030, we lost to RB Salzburg in the 3rd qualifying round and dropped down to the Europa Conference League, where we got all the way to the quarterfinal before finally losing to Feyenoord. We then never returned to the Conference League, as we were in the Europa League for the next 2 seasons, losing to Tottenham in the quarterfinal and Eindhoven in the round of 16 in successive years. And then we were really in the Champions League from then on. In the league phase in 33-34, we finished rock bottom. Didn't have a chance of qualifying that team that year. We only had 3 points, a 2-0 win against Rennes, but we lost every other game. But the following year, we did actually manage to qualify for the playoffs, before losing to Juventus 4-1 over 2 legs. The following year, we couldn't repeat our triumph of qualifying from the playoff rounds, but that's the last time that happened. We had 1 blip against Mulder, where we failed to qualify for the league stage, which saw us eventually lose to Lille in the Europa League round of 16. But then we lost again to Juventus in the playoff round, in the round of 16 to West Ham, in the quarter-final to Barcelona, Lazio in the playoff on penalties, Chelsea in the final after extra time. It was heartbreaking, this one. An 121st minute penalty for Chelsea saw them win the Champions League. It was absolute heartbreaking at the San Siro. Undeserved, I think. I'm not going to lie, I think I took a bit of a break from the save after that for a few months. But we came back and we lost to Barcelona in the playoff round in the next year before finally lifting the Champions League trophy against Atletico de Madrid. And it wasn't even close in the end. We had a convincing 3-0 win. As you can see from the match stats, it was very easy in the match momentum. It was a bit of a walkover, really. Our strategy was to sign young players and then develop them as much as we could. We sold a few players and we have £256 million in the bank, looking very healthy. I managed to keep the wage budget in check for a long time. We were only paying $333,000 until mid-2044, only a year ago, before it skyrocketed to just under £1 million per annum. But still, that's pretty good for a team of this quality. Let's have a look at the Champions League winning team then. We had Pedro Henrique, who is a starting Brazilian goalkeeper. He looks pretty tidy. We signed him from the Brazilian leagues for $8.5 million 5 years ago and developed him into a very good keeper. Bernardo Shearer, I just called him Sierra. I don't know how you actually pronounce it. We brought him in a long time ago, almost 10 years ago, just over 10 years now, for just less than £5 million. He always had a massive amount of current ability for our team. He doesn't look like a world beater, but he's pretty solid, and look at those mental attributes. Some of them are fantastic. Serkan Kol, another one who's always had a massive amount of current ability. Turkish centre-back that we've had in for 9 years, signed him for just over £10 million a long time ago. He's been used as a centre-back and a left-back deputy with a right foot. His physicals are good, his mentals are amazing, and his technicals aren't bad. Ciro Konan, our Belgian centre-back, I always think he's younger than he is. We signed him for $16 million 7 years ago from the Belgian league. He is fantastic. He always used to get a few goals from headers. Look at those physicals, look at those mentals, look at those technicals. Absolute brilliant player. 26 goals, so he scores 1 in 10. I thought it was more than that, honestly. He scored 7. Well, it's hard to tell, really, because I used to rest players. There's 30 games in a league season in Sweden, and he only plays about 20 of them. Like, a lot of these players were rested a lot because I always wanted them fit for the Champions League games. Thomas Hovenhoff, he is an absolute world beater. He's world class, and he's been a stalwart in the team for another 10-year period. We signed these guys so long ago and built them into a super team. Look at those match ratings. Again, look at the amount of games they're playing in the season. It's not because they're injured, it's just because I'm resting them and getting game time into the players I was developing on the sidelines as well. Freddie Pelzar, I think he's left now. Oh, he left and then came back, did he? Oh no, I think I was planning on getting rid of him. Signed him for £5 million 7 years ago as well. He wasn't amazing, but he fit into the team well. He filled a hole. We could never really find a really good defensive ball winner, but he did a job, and well, we won the Champions League final, so he must have been alright. Engin Berk, another Turkish player, centre attacking mid. We signed him just 4 years ago from Galatasaray for £18 million. He's always had good ratings, and he always popped up with the odd goal now and then. He was solid. He always linked up the midfield and the attack really well. Good player. Jovica Maksimovic, he has been our right winger and striking backup really for a long time. He's been another one here for 7 years, $10.5 million from Red Star Belgrade. He was never really in the first team that much, but he must have been in for somebody who was injured because he never really started all that often. Michael Johansson, our Swedish player. I always wanted to get as many Swedish players in the team, but I never really succeeded. But I signed this guy for $1.8 million from Elfsborg 10 years ago and developed him into a very good deep lying playmaker. He's played 70 times for Sweden and he's only 28, so he could go on to make 100 appearances for his country. Christian Gunnarsson, an Icelandic winger. Is he world class? No, not quite, but I think he was at one point. Signed him 8 years ago for £5 million from Norway. He's always been fantastic. Look at those technicals, look at those physicals. What a player. I mean, last year in the league, he got 16 starts, 14 assists and 11 goals with an 8 rating, 8.07. Fantastic player, our number 11. And David Anderberg Eden, our world-class striker. I had a £100 million bid in from once upon a time. We signed him for $1.3 million from another Swedish team 6 years ago. I didn't want to sign him because we had a different striker, but I thought I'm just going to sign him. He's only $1.3 million, and then he developed into an absolute beast. So I'm really glad I did. What a player he is. He's injured at the moment, but he gets so many goals. I mean, he scored in the Champions League final. He scored 120 goals in 119 appearances in the Swedish league, grant you. But what a player he is. On the bench that came on was Ilya Pankiv. He is our starting right back usually when Serra... maybe back then he was developing still, but he's our starting right back now. Very good player. I think he's better than Serra. Or Serra. I never really know how to pronounce his name. He was signed for £9 million from Dynamo Kiev 4 years ago. Mr. Dessa, I know that's probably how you don't say his name. He's not happy now. He probably wants to start more games. He wants to move to a stronger squad with the best team in the world, mate. Signing for £9 million as a bench player from the Croatian league. Our other Swedish player, Jarl, a right winger who is usually on the bench and gets a lot of game time in the league when I'm trying to rest players, but he's not as good as the rest of them, but pretty good. Not a bad player at 23. He's only valued at 6 million, which is pretty crazy, but Man City are in for him, so he can't be that bad. Mark Bang, what a cool name. He's I never really knew who to play between Mark Bang and Gunnarsson. If you look at them, Gunnarsson is slightly better, but Bang has slightly better mental abilities. But his name's so much better. Mark Bang. Gunnarsson's pretty cool as well, though. He's our Danish left winger. He usually came on from the bench, either up front or most commonly on the wing. We had a few players come through the youth academy that weren't amazing, but I used to try and get them in the team as much as I can. Joachim Peterson. He's a striker, left winger or right winger, or can play in behind the striker as well. I think I trained him to play all three of those positions. He was only a striker originally. Not the best player in the world, but he's one of our own. And I've given him the number 9. Another one, Anton Lundqvist. He's a defensive midfielder. He used to deputise for Mikael Johnson. He's come through the academy, obviously, and he's gone back to our... He went out to our feeder club and then won in the second division of Sweden before featuring on our bench from then on. Honourable mentions, Mar Hinriksson. He did a job for us while he was here. Icelandic centre-back. He was brilliant when he was here. He came in 2031 and left 10 years later. For 63k we bought him for and sold him for just under 6 million to the Dutch league. One of our academy graduates got sold to Leeds for £5 million, but I think we did them over a little bit there. Philip Berggren isn't very good, but he was another one from the academy. Balzers Ban was an interesting player. He was one of the ones we tried to plug the midfield up with a ball-winning midfield role. He came in, he didn't want to be here, so he left. But then we brought him back again because we needed a defensive midfielder. He's not very good. His mental abilities are fantastic, but other than that, he's not amazing. His physicals are fine. His technicals aren't great. But he was he played 80 times for Slovakia at 28 years old, so that's quite impressive. But he was another one that was in and around the save. Havard Troen, he was a great player. We brought him in when he was just under 18 because we can try and get homegrown players for the Champions League quota. We signed him for 4.3 million before selling him to Cagliari for 30 million 3 years later. When he just became homegrown and we sold him because we needed the money at the time. £30 million back then was a lot of money. One of my absolute favourite players of the save, Nicholas Abildo. He came in one of my first years. I think it was the second or third year. He came in the first year, I think, in the top flight, and he was an absolute ever-present force, and he was really pretty good. I don't know why I liked him so much, but he was just pretty solid all the time. And I kept him in the under-19s as a coach, but then I actually started to manage against him in the league when he went to Helsingborg and Degerfors. He was one that I always appreciated. I'm going to try and bring in as an assistant manager. Another one in a similar vein was Javier Vargas. He came in just before we got to the top flight and had an absolutely fantastic season on the wing, playing 29 times, getting 13 goals and 8 assists. But then we shifted from a 4-2-3-1 to a 3-4-2-1, and he dropped out of the team. I did eventually train him to play right wing back, but by then we'd moved on in quality, so he dropped out of the team. But I always liked him. He was always favoured personnel. And he's still on the icons list with Gunnarsson and my absolute favourite player of the save, Stretan Polovanec. Paulo Vanek. He came in 2030 for free after he was released by Dynamo Zagreb. He was an attacking midfielder who was in the team for a long time, but we eventually outgrew him, sadly, and he went to play in the Turkish leagues because he said he wanted to play, even though I wanted him to stick around. I eventually brought him in as my assistant manager. As you can see now, he was in the youth team, but I've brought him in as the actual assistant manager for this season. I had planned on keeping him as the coach for the league games, and I was going to play the Champions League games, but then I didn't see the point in winning multiple Champions Leagues. I think I was just happy winning one. We also managed to win the Club World Cup, which was nice. I'm not really sure how we qualified. I think it was because there's only a certain amount of teams that can qualify because of what country they're in, and then it's the highest qualifying team from a country that isn't in the top coefficient. So you got 2 from England, 2 from Spain, 2 from Germany, all that, and then we were the top highest rated club that wasn't from one of those big leagues. So we snuck in and then we won the whole thing, which was absolutely brilliant. We didn't manage to win the Super Cup, which is the only thing we haven't won really, and I'm not really that bothered about it. And I think this save was tied up in a nice little bow. I don't think we can improve it much from here. Everything I wanted to do has been done, and look at all those awards and look at all those competition wins. It was a couple of years we didn't win the Swedish Cup because you can always lose on the day, but we won the league far too many times. Estimated club value of just under £1 billion now, so I think the owner must be pretty happy with me. But that was Lulea. Let's move on to the next one. This was my first save. It's a status quo that I always do. I always start unemployed, no coaching badges, and see how far you can get. And we started the adventure with Scarborough, and in 23-24 we didn't get promoted, but the next season we did, and then we left Scarborough to go to Diagoras Rodou in Greece. They were in financial turmoil in the second Greek league, which fits with Greece, I suppose. We got them to the top flight, and then we're struggling, and then we managed to get the job at Deportivo La Coruña. We got them promoted, and then we secured a 10th place finish. I think they're still in the league now. Yes, they are. They're in the relegation zone at the moment. We brought them back to the top flight and got them in a good position to stay there. Fenerbahce then came in for me, and I went there, and I had a really good time at Fenerbahce. We couldn't quite get the league title in the first season, but we did win the Turkish Cup. We were in a proper dire position when I joined. The squad was in a huge mess. The next season, we did the double and won the Europa League. And then the following season, we won the SAM, that trophy between the Europa League winner and the South American League Cup winner and the Turkish Cup. But we left them when we were in first position because Liverpool came in for us, who were also in an absolute diabolical position. It's pretty much similar to when Jurgen Klopp came into Liverpool. Very similar sort of vibe. We finished 7th in the first season and then went on to absolutely demolish everything. Ironically, I would have left a long time ago. We won everything there is to win. We won the Champions League a couple of times, I think. We won trebles and everything. And I wanted to stay with them because I wanted to win the Club World Cup. And then I went back to my Lulea save and then did it anyway. So these 4 seasons I could have left and didn't need to. And then I went on holiday in real life to Antalya. So I wanted to do a little save with Antalya, but I kind of lost interest in the save in the end. We've only just joined here, and I'm not really interested in continuing this one. But all in all, it was a very eventful save. My Liverpool team was pretty good. I'm pretty sure a lot of them are still there. We had I signed Jude Bellingham towards the end of his career for 107 million after we won the Champions League, because I thought, why not? I always had a problem with strikers. We had this Hayden Kelly, who on paper is fantastic, but he didn't really get that many goals for me, annoyingly. He only got 9 in the league and then 7 the year before. Never got more than 11 in all of his years in the league. Very odd. Oh, this guy was fantastic. Lucas Drabant, he was my captain, German centre-back and play centre defensive mid as well. He is a beast. Have a look at those attributes. 167 to 143 million valuation. I bought him for 82 million from Stuttgart, so he wasn't that cheap, but very good player. I developed this guy when I was at Liverpool as well, called Hlebeck. He turned into a pretty amazing keeper in the end. Signed him for just 5 million. I don't know if I did or the club already had him, but I was the one who developed him into a world beater. But moving on again to the next one. And this is another one that I'm probably never going to finish, but it was very fun while it lasted. We started unemployed, no coaching badges, with the intention of winning every Champions League in the world, which is obviously called the Pentagon Challenge, if you haven't heard of that, which I'm sure you have. We started with Persikat in Indonesia, managed to get them promoted from the 2nd to the 1st division, which was no easy feat. And then we got a job in the 3rd division of Japan, and then we actually managed to win the Japanese League Cup which was pretty crazy from the 3rd division. We had some giant killings against Osaka there and Vissel Kobe, and then in the final we beat Sendai 3-0. We had a fantastic team that year. We were playing a 3-4-2-1 and we absolutely dominated the league. This guy, Enzo Martinez, was an absolute beast for us. In that one year I was in that division, he got 16 assists and 6 goals from the left wing back. What a player he was, Enzo Martinez. We played in this lovely purple kit, which I really much enjoyed when I was there. But then we left them, it turned out to be a mistake in the end, to Nagoya Grampus in the top flight of Japan. And that was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had in Football Manager. I was there for a year and a day, I think. Yeah, there we are. A year and a day. And I only had a win percentage of about 58%. It was not fun. I tried to rebuild the team. It didn't work out. And then I got kicked out. We then went to Adelaide, and Adelaide was far more fun. But the Australian rules are so stupid. Look at this. So you've got to have a minimum squad size of 15 players. Easy, right? Maybe, you'd think so. But scholarship players don't count, and most of my team is scholarship players because you've also got a salary cap, and the scholarship players don't count towards the salary cap, so you need to put all of your eggs in one basket, and I'll come on to that in a second. You can only have 2 designated players, and I've only got 1 at the minute for some reason, I don't know why. You have to have 2 goalkeepers, and your maximum foreign players of 5, which is also a rule in the Champions League. I think in real life it's just about a change. And the stupidest rule in all of football is that Australian teams can't buy players from other Australian teams. So if I went into this team now and I bid 30 money, I don't think you can even bid. Yeah, you can't bid any money for any of these players because he's from another Australian team. It's the stupidest rule I've ever seen in football. So what you can do though is poach players on youth contract. So I was constantly scouring teams for youth contracted players, and then you can go in, like I've done with this one here, who's transferred to join, and just negotiate their contract, and all you have to do is pay for their compensation. I can go to this guy and go approach to sign, and then negotiate a contract, and then I've just got to play this thing down here, £925,000 as a compensation, which is basically a transfer fee. So that's where all your money goes. So you can't properly sign players. It's so annoying. I did manage to build quite a good team in the end, and we absolutely dominated the Australian leagues. I think we failed to win last season though. Oh yeah, that's another stupid thing. So there's the league campaign, which is pretty short. It's only 26 games, and then these top 6 teams go into a playoff to win the trophy that everybody actually cares about. We managed to win the last 2 out of 3, but we finished second last year as we lost to Sydney in the final. But Australia is just different. And then you have to try and beat teams from Saudi Arabia with this bullshit going on. It's so stupid. But sometimes that's what's fun, trying to overcome adversity. And moving on to the next save. This one is a little bit different as well. In one of my recommended save idea shorts, I said to only play the 4-4-2. And I live and die by what I say. This save is only 4-4-2. I also let myself play 4-4-2 with defensive midfielders because defensive midfielders are so vital on this game. But I started using that improved match engine mod that you can do, so I didn't think the defensive midfielders were so important on that. But I've then gone back to the vanilla game for the Journeyman that you've got on YouTube that you're watching if you're a frequent viewer of the channel. We started out with Berwick. We started out on a special database with the Scottish lower leagues loaded because I wanted to play with Berwick. We got Berwick promoted all the way to the Scottish Premier, and then the Scottish Premier was so hard. It was ridiculous. You couldn't buy a win. In the first year in the Premier League, we managed to scrape ourselves to the top half before getting pummeled every game and finishing on 43 points. And we should have been all the way down in 9th, but obviously the table splits in half then. The following season, we barely didn't get relegated. This would have been a playoff place between Livingston and us, but we didn't have to play in that playoff. And then the following season, we would have, on the final day, we were above Livingston, but then we conceded a late goal and Livingston overtook us on the last day, and we were automatically relegated. So Livingston lived to fight another day before getting relegated the next season. We then got sacked by Berwick after getting relegated, which I thought was a bit harsh. And then we went to Gillingham in the National League because my stepdad supports Gillingham. I thought that'd be fun. and we got them, while only playing the 4-4-2, to the championship. We had one season in the National League where we went to the playoff final and lost. That was heartbreaking as well. I need to show you that one. I hate Crochdale. I remember this now. Rochdale beat us on the final day, meaning we couldn't win the league that year. And then we faced them in the playoff final, and then they beat us again there and got promoted. So I was really pissed off with them. I was not happy with Crochdale. They were my mortal enemy. After that failure, though, we got promoted by winning the league the next season. And then we finished second in League 2. Crochdale were breathing down on next to second position as well. And it was really annoying me, but we managed to hold them off to finish second. I think I would have been automatically promoted then as well, but I just wanted to get one over on them because I hated them so much. Then the following season we got our third successive promotion as we won League 1, and then we left them in the championship. They survived 1 year. I think they're still in there now. Yes, they are. Struggling against relegation, but still there. We then left to go to Hibernian because I'll be going there soon to watch a real game, and I'll be doing a matchday vlog, so look forward to that one. And then at Hibernian, I was having a great time tinkling along, trying to overcome Rangers and Celtic, being back in the Scottish Premier League, playing against my old Berwick Rangers side, who were completely different, and not playing a 4-4-2, which I thought was hideous. We were playing well, but then Chelsea came in for me, and I really didn't want to leave, but I thought for the realism of the save, I'm going to leave. And then it's been a bit of a disaster since joining Chelsea. As you can see, we came in here against Cardiff. You can see the formation changed to the 4-4-2 DM and then the 4-4-2. And it was going well, and then going badly, and then going worse. So I kind of lost interest in this save because I was playing another one at the time as well, which we're going to go on to now. A European Journeyman where you're not allowed to have coaching badges. Who would have thought I was going to play one of them? It is probably my favourite way to play the game. I started this one just before starting my YouTube channel, so I thought I'd restart it so we could start the adventure from day one. But this save was fantastic. It still is fantastic. I'd carry it on quite happily. We started with Iskenderunspor in Turkey, which is really far east. It's like near Syria. We failed to get promotion in the first season, but we built a pretty good team in the second season. We were absolutely demolishing the league. And then Boluspor, who were struggling in the Turkish Superliga, came in for us, and we tried to turn it around. We brought in a little English contingent of players, but didn't manage to keep them up. We finished 18th in the end, not even close to surviving relegation. We were 9 points off the pace. And then we got the sack, which I thought was pretty harsh. I would have stayed with them if they let me. We then went to Igalio in Greece, which I love managing in. We got them promoted at the first time of asking. We absolutely took them over and got them firing. So you can see this is where the season was when I took over, and this is where I was when they came in. And look at all that green. We lost 3 games all season, one of which was in the cup, so 2 games in the league, and we rocketed up the table to promotion. We qualified for the European places group but didn't get a European slot. There was only the top 4 that got a European slot that year. The next season, though, we were Greek champions, absolutely massively ahead of everybody else. We only lost 3 games all season, and we finished 14 points ahead of Panathinaikos. The following season, we were cruising along in second, but then I saw the Abergavenny job come up, and I couldn't resist. I used to work at sea, and all the lads on the ship were Polish, and they all supported Arca, and I've always wanted to manage them a football manager, and the opportunity presented itself, so I applied, and they took me. And similarly, it was a magical season, this. Absolutely fantastic. I've never had one like it. As you can see, we're still at Abergavenny. So this is where we were before we took over. The schedule's looking very red and very orange and a little bit of green. And then look at all that green. We went from, I think, in the relegation zone, all the way up to 6th on the final day, qualifying for the playoffs. And then we managed to win the playoffs. But not only did we win the playoffs, we managed to win the Polish FA Cup, or the equivalent, and qualified for Europe the next season. We absolutely bottled Europe, though. We had a lot of games against poor teams, but we ultimately lost to Lille, and then we won the Super Cup final against Pogoń Szczecin, and then this season we finished 4th in our first season back in the top flight, and then this season that we're in now, we're top of the table, 6 points clear halfway through, pretty likely to win the league. We've got some great players here at the moment. Bradley Kiva, I'm not really sure. He came in on loan, and then we got him on a free, He's a brilliant player. He's at Strasbourg. I think he's at Monaco in real life, but he's an absolute beast on this game. Gabriel Leone, he is our right winger. Cagliari want him. He's been playing very well. He got 13 goals and 6 assists in the top flight last season. We got him in for £275,000. One of my favourite players of this save, Jacek Stanek. He came through the youth academy and I absolutely adored him as soon as I came in. As soon as he came in, he came straight in the starting lineup. He got 11 goals in the first season I was with, and then 15 goals last season in the league. James Scott, good Scott, great Scott. He came in from Chelsea on a free in the season that we were in the second division, just at the end, and then he's become our main striker. He's not bad, you know. I think there's a couple of teams in for him. That's just another Polish team. But he's pretty good. I mean, look at those attributes. He's pretty well-rounded, good physicals. Not the fastest player in the world, but everywhere else he's pretty good, gets goals. Brought one of my players from Igalio, Ian, a left winger. He was a assist machine in Greece. Well, it doesn't look like it there, but it felt like he got a lot. And then finally, I've got the Oldham save that I've got in the first video on this channel, and I haven't done much on it since because it became too hard. For those who don't know, this is a challenge save where I'm only allowed to sign players over the age of 33. If you look at the squad age there, everybody's above the age of 33, and we're sitting 10th in League 2. It's a struggle. When we just got promoted from the National League last season in a very dramatic playoff final, it was highly edited and I put in the end of last video, at the end of the first video on this channel, but it just became too hard. I think, look at this, look how much red. Oh, that is sickening. Looks like the measles. A little bit of green in there, but look how bad that form is. I don't know how we're only 10th. I mean, I guess we had a good start to the season. I just lost all motivation to do this one because the video didn't get many views, and for the amount of effort I put into it, it didn't really seem worth it. So I just thought I'd do videos that I enjoy more, which is the European Journeyman. It's just something I really enjoy doing. It's less effort, but I enjoy it a lot more, and I can get them out more consistently. And I can do these little skits and little music things and the little food segments, which I think set me apart from other creators. But that's everything. The only other save I have is the European Journeyman that you all know and love. As of recording this video, I'm sitting just before the Slovan Bratislava game in our first season back in the top flight when we're flying, and I'm just about to record, or just at the point where I'm about to record episode 10. So I don't know where I am in the future. I'm planning on releasing this just a week before FM26 releases, or the beta releases. So hopefully you've enjoyed, but that's everything. Leave a like on the video if you want, subscribe if you haven't already, watch a video on screen if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.